Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. I am again using the new lapel mic that I am borrowing from my sir, so please let me know if you like the audio quality in this, and I will keep using it despite the fact that it makes me look like somebody doing an interview in the mid-90s. But today's video, we're going to be talking about Subfrenzy and just sort of general advice for new submissives. This is not really something I've seen touched on a lot, but I think it is really, really important to know about, especially if you are literally brand new to BDSM, either just started playing or are thinking about starting to play with other people. Having knowledge is 110% power, and that includes knowing about the potential pitfalls of being a new submissive. So Subfrenzy is also known as, kid in the candy store syndrome, which I think really describes what this is pretty accurately. It is when you are brand new to the scene, you've been thinking about this for years and years, and you're just like so excited to try everything, and you want to do everything now. You want to play with everybody, you want to try everything, you want to push all of your limits, you want to see how hard you can go, how fast you can go, how long you can go, see how many people you can play with, how many parties you can go to, and you basically run yourself down into the ground and don't do things safely, because you get really, really, really preoccupied with all of the amazing, crazy, cool things you could do that are now open to you, and you can do them even though you've been thinking about them for like 10 years, and now you finally get to do it. Calm your brain. And I know it's really, really hard because everything in kink, especially when you're brand new to it, is so exciting and so interesting, and obviously you want to try all of it right now, but you totally don't have to. Subfrenzy at worst is gonna put you in a lot of potential danger and is gonna make you really, really high risk. Best case scenario is experienced doms or tops, or at least reputable ones, will probably be less likely to play with you because you are so desperate to play with everybody and try everything, and you may not be able to communicate your limits very well and may not be willing to communicate your limits at all. Now, what are actually some signs that you are entering Subfrenzy or that somebody you know may be in Subfrenzy? I think the big tells are going to be how frequently are they playing and who are they playing with. If they're playing with a new person every single night of the week, if they don't know how to say no to somebody, if they never make any of their own demands during negotiation, or if they don't want any negotiation at all and they're happy to just gallivant off and do whatever it is that the dom or the top wants to do them for however long they want to do it, that is going to be a big warning sign. In addition, if you are engaging in play that you don't know about or haven't heard of, like if you just decided, oh, hook pull suspension, that sounds cool, yeah, let's try it, but you have no idea what hook pull suspension is at all, and you've never been up in the air before, and you've never done anything with needle play at all, and you don't know how to negotiate or talk about it because you simply have no idea what the kind of play that you're doing is. Again, you want to make sure that you are negotiating with your top, and I'll talk more about general good advice for submissives and how to avoid Subfrenzy later. But if you're not asking any questions and you're not doing any actual negotiation or making any demands of your dom or top that you're going to be playing with, that is generally a bad sign. Slow down, breathe. You have a right to negotiate. You have a right to do things that you want to do, and you don't have to try everything all at once. So just, keep that in mind while you are engaging in play. Also, if you are engaging in play with complete strangers, and that includes doing lots of pickup play with strangers at parties or agreeing to meet up with strangers at their houses without doing any kind of vetting, doing any kind of save calls, or really just interacting with them at all prior to actually playing, it is really important that you talk to doms and tops you want to play with at length, that you set up safe calls, that you vet them, that you meet them in person before you agree to play. All of these things, very, 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 very important. Now, question is, does this happen to doms too? Yes, it does. It happens all the time to new switches, new tops, new doms, any kind of person, not just S-types, will totally have the same thing happen to them. However, the environment that new submissives and new dominants enter into are very different. So with a new submissive, it's basically being like a hot transfer student at a small town high school. Like, you are the fresh meat, every single person that is there that is available to play as a top will probably approach you at some point and either try to figure out what you're into or negotiate play with you or just generally show interest in you in some way because you're new. And wouldn't it be so awesome to like pop your cherry about this one different certain kind of play that you specialize in and all of this great stuff. So it can be a really great way to meet people, of course, that are going to end up as long-term play partners, but at the same time, because you're new, you're also going to be attracting a lot of the players that the more experienced people won't play with because they don't do so safely or they violate consent or they don't actually know what they're doing. If you are a dom or a top, you don't generally get the same reaction when you're brand new. You could still have the same like overt enthusiasm and say yes to every single submissive that wants to play with you, but the actual number of submissives and the kind of play that they're going to be willing to do with you are generally going to be a lot less than the same situation that would be for an inexperienced submissive. Also, because you're the top, the risk towards you personally is going to be a lot lower than to a submissive. If you're the one who agrees to do a whipping session, yeah, you might hit yourself in the back or the hand or maybe even the face a few times, but if you're a brand new submissive agreeing to be whipped, you potentially could end up with a bloody back and front that will cause massive scars that will never heal. So, not to scare anybody with that statement, but the general consensus is that subs have sub frenzy and tops have top frenzy or dom frenzy or whatever you want to call it, and they definitely both happen, but sub frenzy is generally a bit more dangerous of a situation to be in than top or dom frenzy is. General good advice for brand new submissives and how to actually avert sub frenzy. The biggest thing is, and I've already said this a couple times in this video, is just take a deep breath, realize that you don't have to do everything at once. There is no rush to do every single crazy kind of play that you've ever heard about or fantasized about, like within the first month or the first year or the first 10 years that you're in BDSM. There is no time limit on this. You don't have to try and cram as much play as physically possible into every single week. You need to make sure that if anything, you are scheduling time specifically to play, but that doesn't mean do it every single day as soon as you're off of work or done with school. Like maybe do it twice a week, do it on like a Wednesday and a Friday night, and that's it. Give yourself time to recover. Give yourself time to process all the endorphins, all the adrenaline, all the things that are happening with all of this play that you're doing. Give yourself time to process it, slow down. Just, if you need to, just keep reminding yourself that, you don't have to do everything all at once. If somebody does really want to play with you, like that exact minute, tell them that you're busy, that you want to take time to get to know them better, that you want more negotiation, that you don't have time in your schedule right now to play. So even if you do have like 10 different people approach you, schedule them all out. Don't try to do 10 people in 10 days. Do 10 people in 10 months if you need to. Like, just take time, realize nothing bad's going to happen if you don't all get it done all at once. It's okay, I promise. Another thing that you can do that is really, really important is you need to gather knowledge. Obviously, if you are on my channel, I would highly recommend that you watch some more of my videos because I talk about a bunch of different kinds of play on here, from pet play, wax play, DDLG, etc., that you may be interested in participating in. There's a bunch of other really great educators here on YouTube. Obviously, shout outs to Brittany Simon. Hey, what's up, girl? Also, I would definitely recommend Morgan Thorne, What's the Safe Word, and a couple of other really great channels. I will put them down below if you haven't seen them. YouTube channels and YouTube information is obviously not the only way to go. You can also take informational classes locally at your local dungeon or your local center. You can also read books. There are plenty of really, really great beginner books out there that give a whole wide overview of a bunch of different kinks. If you're interested in learning about different kinds of kinks specifically, not necessarily different kinds of play, I recommend reading the book Fetish Sex. I will put a link to that down below. If you guys want to check the book out, it goes over a bunch of different kinds of fetishes that you may be interested in incorporating into your kind of play. I would also recommend the book, I believe it's called Learning to Kneel. It is specifically for new submissives, and that goes over a bunch of different kinds of play as well you can partake in, and it is good for both genders as well, or any gender for that matter. It goes over everything from how to use clamps to like CBT, like all kinds of stuff you can use in that book that will give you a huge wide overview of play, and you can get ideas from that. And knowing about different kinds of play, knowing about what to expect as a submissive is really, really important, and it's really going to empower you and encourage you to do play that is safe for your current risk level and your current level of experience. Two things that are also going to be really important is be friends with other submissives, make connections with other submissives. Obviously, it is really awesome and great if you have every dom in the room fawning over you who wants to play with you constantly, but make sure you make connections with other S-types as well, because they're going to know who's the best to play with for rope, they're going to know who's a known consent violator, they're going to know all the scoop about everybody that they've played with too, and they'll be able to give you really personal, detailed insight into what it's actually like to play with different people. They can give you recommendations of different people to play with. They can just generally help you out, and it's really great, especially after a scene. If you're in a situation where the dom has messed up or isn't able to provide aftercare to you or whatever, you have a support group you can go back to, talk about the situation, and kind of just generally like, hey, does it sound normal that I'm feeling this way? Or is it normal that this scene went this way, or this sensation felt this way, or whatever? You can go to them, you can talk about it, and that's going to be really, really great and awesome. And chances are, as they find out that you're playing, with 10 different people in 10 days, they'll be like, hey, slow down a little bit. Just slow down a little bit. Even if it's only to leave room for the rest of them to be able to play at the parties too. They will at least be there to help slow you down and, hopefully keep you on the level, as it were. Another thing that is going to be really important is keep a journal. Obviously, if you're not a journaler or a writing type of person, you don't have to do this, but you can write a journal every day if you want, every week, every single time you have a scene. Look back at what you did, what you experienced, how it made you feel, all that stuff. Write it down in a journal and keep it to yourself. You can just look back on it and be like, was it really a good idea that I did that thing with that person? Or maybe I should reconsider doing this much play all in 1 week, because holy shit, after that last week, I felt like crap. I felt like all of the endorphins had left my body forever permanently. So, keep track of it. You can look back on it, and it really helps you set up realistic expectations when you actually sit down and try to put all of your thoughts into writing. Very, very important if you are that kind of person and that kind of communication works for you. Another thing you are also going to want to make sure that is know how to do this safely. Know how to set up safe calls, know how to vet people, know what those things are, talk to other people in your community. You don't have to play with somebody that night if they approach you. Don't necessarily lie and tell them that your schedule is busy if it's not. Be like, hey, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad that you're interested in playing with me. Here's my number, here's my FetLife name. If you want to get to talk and know me more, I would love to talk about playing with you, but I want to ask some more questions first, and I don't really do well in a party type environment with negotiation. So definitely do that. Make sure you vet people, set up safe calls, and all of that. Safe calls are basically when you either agree to call somebody or you agree to have somebody call you at a certain time. You check in with them, let them know how it's going, and you can agree on escalation steps if either you don't call them or you don't answer their phone calls, etc., or they can physically go up and check on where you are. Let them know the last place you left your car was. Let them know the apartment number, the building, the street address, or whatever of where it is you're going to play. If you were going to play at somebody else's house, let them know kind of what time you expect to be done, all of that. I do have an entire video dedicated just to general safety when meeting and playing with new people. Links to that if you want to watch that video. Highly recommend it, not just because it's mine, because it is important to know how to do this safely and how to keep yourself safe as a new submissive who doesn't necessarily know all the ins and outs of her local community. Also, this rule totally applies to online as well. Even if you're only interested in doing online DS play or whatever it is that you're doing, don't give away your personal information. Don't give them where you really live. Don't give them your real name. Don't send them your PayPal account information. Just be safe about it. Take things slowly. If they are really who they say they are, they will respect you even if you move slowly. They're not going to pressure you to do anything that you don't want to do, and it'll be a lot better if you go slowly as opposed to giving yourself over to the first online dom who offers to take you in the exact way that you want. Okay? Just okay. You also need to be aware of some red flags, and I will probably make an entire video dedicated just to knowing what different kinds of red flags are, because There's a lot of them, but basically anybody who does offer to play with you, like right this second, no negotiations, no strings attached kind of thing, generally that's not a sign of a good dominant. A good dominant will want to actually sit down, talk to you, know your limits, your boundaries, your play expectations, aftercare, etc. All that is going to be really, really important. So if you have a dom who doesn't care about that at all, they probably don't really care about you. And I don't mean to sound like mean when I say that, but it is true. Anybody who just expects you or calls you sub, slave, or any kind of derogatory term or S-type term without asking first, you don't actually give up your power and become a submissive to someone until you agree to do so. Nobody has the right to go up with you, be that in real life or over FetLife or whatever it is, to be like, kneel for me, slave, but like, you're not their slave. Don't trust people who do that or try to like woo you and win you over being like so outright and aggressive and dominant, because it's really just an asshole move. It's not actually cool or dominant at all when people do that. If anybody doesn't respect your limits or says that you shouldn't have any limits or that you shouldn't play with safe words, huge red flags. Especially if you're brand new, you really, really, really need to figure out what your limits are, and you really need to figure out what you want to use for safe words, and you should always play with safe words in mind. Always, always, always. Because it is so important, and I do know of people who play without safe words that have been partners with people for like 20 or 30 years, and that's one thing. But if you are brand new and it is the first time you've ever done a scene with whipping or flogging or spanking, chances are you're going to need to at least check in with your partner periodically to let them know how you're handling the sensation, where your head's at, if anything's coming up that you weren't anticipating. And if you don't have safe words in place, you really don't have a way to communicate that, and you don't have any kind of safety net to make the scene stop. And the last piece of advice that I would give to new submissives who are trying to combat subfrenzy, or just general new advice for new submissives, is not only do you want to learn about the kinds of play that you want to do, learn how to do it safely. Learn what to expect from good dominants. Read books about being a dominant or being a top, even if you have no intention of switching or being a dom or a top yourself. I just got finished reading a book. It's called The New Topping Book. I read the new bottoming book probably 6-7 months ago, and it's a really, really good book. Definitely recommend it. It is completely a classic among BDSM informational literature. Even though I'm not a dom or top at all, reading that book was really valuable to me because it really reinforced what I should expect from a dominant, how to be a dominant or a top safely, and it also gave me a lot of clues to figure out like when a dom or a top isn't being respectful, isn't being safe, or, you know, is just using me as a submissive in inappropriate ways. Like, so valuable. If you can, just read that book. That's all you need to do. Just kind of learn a bit about topping and a little bit about doming so you know what to expect as a submissive from doms and tops that you may be playing with. But yeah, that is all the advice that I have for everyone today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions that you have down below. Let me know again how the audio was doing for this video. I will have links down in the description box to everything that I mentioned in this video. I also have links to my social media. If you like this channel and you like this video, please do consider going to my Patreon, which is going to be linked in my description box. That is basically how I pay to do all of the magical things on this channel and read informational books and all that great stuff. So if you want to support this channel and you want to see more videos, please, please, please do consider going to my Patreon account. It would be also lovely if you did. And until next time, hope you get rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.